Welcome to a new episode of Climate Tech Talks. Today, we delve into the world of sustainable living, zero-waste grocery shopping, and how it's reshaping customer attitudes in Hong Kong. Our guest today is Rebekah Bradley, or Bex for short, an advocate for everyday sustainable living in Hong Kong. We'll discuss her journey with Slowood, the impact of their work on Hong Kong's retail sector, and the changing attitudes of sustainability in the region.
Nice. Thank you, Thomas. It's good to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. So, I am your host, Thomas Corbin, founder of RH Studio, a digital creative agency based right here in central Hong Kong. This podcast, Climate Tech Talks, aims to explore and inspire actions towards a more sustainable future in Asia Pacific. As mentioned, we are joined by Bex, the Business Development Director at Slowood, with experience spanning across various industries, from food and beverage in New Zealand to fast-moving consumer goods. She brings a unique perspective on how small changes we make can help us turn green. So Bex, can you let our listeners know a little bit about your early life in New Zealand? Was there any kind of spark that drove you towards sustainability?
Sure. So, was there a spark? No. Honestly, no. And I think a lot of the conversations that we're going to have today, I'm going to say no a lot. I'm going to perhaps not be the eco-warrior that people think the business development director of Slowood should be. But we'll get to that. I still care. I care a lot. It's just not so black and white. So in New Zealand, there was no spark, but it's always been ingrained in my life. It was normal. So coming to Hong Kong, that contrast was really obvious. Small things like recycling or buying bulk in the supermarkets. In Hong Kong, that's something that's really rare to see. You only see it Slowood.
It's extremely rare to see.
Yeah, or you only see it at other bulk shopping stores. I mean, you do actually see it in Sheung Wan. I've seen it with buying tea or buying dried seafood. But regardless, it's not something you see in the big supermarkets. In New Zealand, it's normal. Has
it always been normal there?
It's always been normal. I remember I don't remember being 5 years old, but I remember being very young and going to the supermarket and buying nuts or dried fruit or candy from the bulk section of the supermarket. This was
amazing.
Always there. I can't remember it not being there. Recycling was normal. That was always, always take your recycle bin out. That's just normal. So there was no spark. I think going further down into when I started going to university and then later when I got my first job, sustainability was also just always ingrained. So with my first job, for example, all of the decisions considered sustainability. So when I came to Hong Kong and got a job here, I just kept doing that. If there's we're looking for new packaging, we're going to look for packaging that's sustainable.
Yeah, sure.
It's just, why would you not?
Yeah. I think that's a great philosophy to have. I think just try and do the little things.
Just try and do it. Just see what the option is. Try it out.
Brilliant. Yeah. And so obviously in New Zealand, you worked with My Food Bag, as I think that was your first job.
Yeah, My Food Bag was my first real job. My Food Bag was New Zealand's fastest growing company of all time. It broke even in 6 months. It went to $100 million revenue within a few years, which meant my personal career was really fast-tracked as well, which was great. I started off driving the van, doing the deliveries and hand-delivering food to people's doors. So. And then I ended up being in the marketing executive. So
how did that happen? Team. Was that a push that you tried to make, or did they kind of inspire you to move up?
I was hugely inspired the whole time I was at My Food Bag. The leadership team and the founders were incredible. They were so supportive. We were a small team, and I was lucky enough to have incredible female mentors. Right from the beginning of my career. So I was inspired, and when I started as the driver, it was sort of knowing that we were all hugely motivated by the fact that we believed in the company and knew it would grow fast and therefore opportunities would come. So I was cool with driving the van, knowing that something else was hopefully going to come. and my food bag, I think, really set the tone for the rest of my career as well.
Yep.
Being a startup, finding that really exciting. You're constantly
constant new challenges,
problems. You
Yep.
have to be really, really solution focused.
I think you have to be quite flexible as well.
You have to be so cross-functional. I mean, driving the van, and then I go into customer service and marketing, but there could be a day in marketing where something has happened in the warehouse, and
Yep.
okay, not everyone's in the operations team now. We're going down to the warehouse and we're repacking bags or whatever it is. So you have to be willing to work outside of your comfort zone and what your job is on paper.
Yep.
Knowing that, good things will come.
Of course.
Just be a yes person and get it done. So, so we had my food bag, and then, that really...
And then you came to Hong Kong.
Then I came to Hong Kong. So my food bag was successful, which meant that I was...
had a good springboard, so to speak.
Yeah, I had a good springboard, and I was I was connected with some really great people when I got to Hong Kong, one being NZTE, which is New Zealand Trade and Enterprise. So they are of the government, I guess, that help businesses launch in other parts, help New Zealand businesses launch in other countries. So I was connected with the, I always get their roles wrong. I want to say the Consulate General. Or the Trade Commissioner. I think it was the Trade Commissioner.
One of them, sure.
Someone very important.
Yes.
And they introduced me to a few different New Zealand-based companies in New Zealand, in Hong Kong. New Zealand companies in Hong Kong.
Yep.
And I interviewed with them, and I got a job with one of them. So it was a New Zealand distribution company.
Yep.
So we imported the best of the best from New Zealand. A lot of the brands that I had been working with at my food bag as well.
Yep.
So
you had those connections to kind of
some
bring
of
them
them,
across.
yeah. And I'd been working in food. They wanted to build their website, like their home delivery side of the business. So I kind of came on board to help build that and launch that and establish that. And I had that experience from New Zealand as well. So we didn't say my food bag was what is my food bag?
Yep.
How does this work? So my food bag was a concept similar to, or very, very similar to, HelloFresh, which a lot more people
food delivery type
would have heard of. Yeah, so all of your groceries are delivered to your front door. Nothing has been prepared. You have a recipe for each night of the week, and it's super convenient, simple, healthy, delicious, is what we would say. So we worked in New Zealand. We worked with everything was free range if it was meat or eggs.
Yep.
Local suppliers for the fruit and vegetables.
Yep.
And then when I came to Hong Kong, we worked with a lot of those same partners, now exporting their products over to Hong Kong.
Yep.
So retail was one of them, establishing the e-commerce home delivery website side of things. I also did marketing. And then I did a bit of sales as well. So working with the restaurants, hotels, a lot of top chefs, which was really fun.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And a lot of interesting people. And then we kind of worked on creating some synergy there as well. So we would host events and invite our home delivery customers to come to those, or...
Oh, wow. Did you get many of them joining the events?
Yeah, a few. It definitely started off small, but what was fantastic was the brands that we were working with on the food service side of the business were the best of New Zealand. So we were working with top chefs, Michelin restaurants, who had great profiles themselves, or the restaurants were well known and well established. So kind of worked both ways. We'd invite guests, they'd invite guests, and you're kind of helping each other out in that sense
fantastic.
as well, and creating a lot of value. Some of those chefs would write recipes for us, similar to my food bag.
Yep.
So they would write recipes for us, and then we would have like recipe kits that would sell as well, which were very successful, especially around Christmas time.
Yep.
When people were wanting to find something easy to do to create a big feast.
Oh, fantastic.
We would send chefs back to New Zealand and then be able to create video content or social media content highlighting that brand, so kind of really crossing over Hong Kong and New Zealand and then sharing that story back to our home delivery customers. So, it was a beautiful thing.
Sounds amazing. And what made you, I think you left, this was Eat the Kiwi, wasn't it? Yeah, Eat the Kiwi. So you left Eat the Kiwi and then you headed to Luna Naturals.
Yeah.
So what kind of inspired that shift? Because you were quite food orientated before then. And then to go, why don't you let our listeners know a little bit about Luna Naturals?
For sure. My career was food. I love food. I love cooking. I love eating. I don't like to say I'm a foodie. Sure. But I'm a foodie. So when I went to Luna Naturals, it was like, what are you doing? Why are you going to a company that has nothing to do with food? But I was very inspired by Liv, female founder. So I've always worked for companies that are led by women. So that was a big draw. And they were just doing great things in Hong Kong and in Asia. And I was really inspired by that. And again, it was
Can you run through what kind of things they were doing?
Yeah, so Luna is a organic, sustainable, natural period care company. Yep. So we had pads, tampons, period cups. We sold those products into other retailers, but we also did a lot of education and workshops, public workshops, but also workshops in corporates and in schools. And on that B2B side, the corporate and the school side, we would also sell period care into those schools or those corporations to make it free in bathrooms and accessible in bathrooms. So when women or girls are going to the bathroom, they have access to period care at work. So that was one core part of my role when I was there, was establishing that side.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then after Luna Naturals, you obviously headed to your current position at Slowood. Would you like to introduce our listeners to a little bit about Slowood? I know there's a few different angles at Slowood these days. And how your role has evolved there in the past year and a half.
Sure. So when I started, I was the marketing director, and I'm now the business development director. So I still do a bit of marketing, but my role oversees a lot more of the business, I guess. So you and a lot of other people might know about Slowood. So Slowood are our retail stores and our online store. It's a zero waste and sustainable lifestyle and grocery store.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. we do a lot, and that's what we do. We're trying to create a space where a lot is available, so you're not having to go all over Hong Kong to try and find sustainable or zero waste products. So the founders really wanted to create a one-stop shop.
Sure. But is it focused just towards, climate people?
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. Slowood is for everyone. Sustainability is for everyone. The founders, Kai and Dora, really wanted to create a place or a store that was felt approachable for everyone. It's not just for the eco-warriors. It very as much a store for people to learn and grow. And I think we're very transparent with the fact that we're also learning and growing with them. Yep. So it's not perfect. Yeah. But when we learn something, or when we see a new technology, or we learn something, then we will make changes to the store ourselves. So we're on a journey with our customers, and it's not extreme. So it's not only zero waste; it's zero waste and sustainable. Sure. So we, for example, have shampoo in plastic bottles. Yep. They're recyclable, but the product inside is natural, so there are no sulfates or parabens or any harmful chemicals that can be harmful to our body and harmful to the earth. So there's that option. So your first step might be, okay, I'm just going to start using products that have natural ingredients. Yep. Then we go to the other end of the scale, and there's a shampoo bar, which is like a bar of soap but a bar of shampoo, and it's in a cardboard packaging, so which is super biodegradable. Yeah, of course. So that's kind of the extreme zero waste option. And then in the middle, we have refill, so you can refill that your plastic bottle that you perhaps bought first in store, so you're reusing the same plastic bottle each time rather than discarding it and buying a new one. So we want people to come along the journey, just try something new and then slowly evolve and make small steps.
To come in for one thing and then slowly pick up other products in the store, so to speak.
Try different things. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Small steps.
And what are those kind of distribution channels? What's the difference between Slowood and Green Route?
Yeah, so we have Slowood. You know about Slowood now. We also have Green Route. Green Route is the distribution arm of our company. So we distribute around 80% of the products that you see in Slowood, and we distribute those to other retailers, corporates who they might be doing external gifting or some kind of internal sustainability initiative.
Brilliant.
And then we also supply places like private clubs, or small mom and pop stores. So we do a bit of everything. And then
any stores you can tell us about, retail or small ones, or
so
supermarket chains?
I think it can confuse people a bit. Like, well, why are you selling to other stores? Don't you want to be the sustainable zero waste store? And we very much don't want to be. We want this to be normalized. We want these kind of products to be made available and accessible everywhere. When we see a totally separate competitor come into the market, we feel happy. Great, there's room in the market for everyone, and we're able to see these kind of products or this way of living becoming even more available to people.
Sure.
So in terms of other stores we supply, we work with Park and Shop, Mannings, Watsons, City Super, so the big guys. In those stores we have our own mini stores, so in a few Park and Shops we have an aisle where you can buy bulk and buy sustainable products.
Fantastic.
In Watsons we have, in 3 Watsons stores we have a shelf where it's all sustainable products from Slowood, and that's all branded Slowood. But then we work, I guess, without the connection of the Slowood brand as well. So some products are just sold into other retailers, but you wouldn't know that it was Slowood from us. Sure. So we're making those products more accessible and more available, and working to get them on the shelf next to the conventional alternative.
I guess kind of speaking on that, and in terms of trying to convince people to buy these products, what are some of the ways that you or Slowood have been engaging with customers in Hong Kong, and specific customers or the wider community, to promote sustainable living? And what are the kind of challenges that you've been facing to get people to adopt such a lifestyle? Yeah,
it's challenging for sure. And I think one of the biggest challenges we have is around accessibility. So we talk about accessibility a lot. And when I say that, I mean in terms of proximity, and in terms of price, and in terms of value. So the idea is that if we can make sustainable products more accessible, more people will do it. And I think Slowood has proven that is fact. When we make the sustainable alternative, or a sustainable product, or a sustainable shop accessible, people do buy the products. So some of the challenges we face are around price, or the perception of price. People think sustainable and they think expensive, but it's not always true. We work, as mentioned, we work directly with our suppliers. So it means we're kind of cutting out the middleman, meaning that we can lower some of our prices and kind of pass those savings on to our customers. In terms of the Hong Kong consumer, Hong Kong consumers value more than anything else. So more than convenience, or more than brand, for example. So we really look at value and ensure that we're providing things at great value. Some of the things that we will do is, if you bring your own container, you get 10% off. If you're shopping in bulk, the packaged alternative is typically around 30% more expensive. So ensuring that kind of marketing is communicated as well is really important. And then making Slowood, or making these products more available, is really important as well. If you live in, if you live in Sham Shui Po and the only Slowood is in Central Market, that's really annoying to go all of that way to buy one bottle of shampoo or whatever, one biodegradable toothbrush, whatever it is you're going to buy. If there is a store in Sha Tin, which there now is. It's a little bit closer. A little bit closer for people who live in the new territories, perhaps. And it means that, people are more likely to make these habit changes. So accessibility and proximity is a really big thing.
Fantastic. And I guess talking about how I guess when people do have these options sort of closer to home, so to speak, that does promote them to think more about their sustainable lifestyle. But from our previous discussions, you've talked about a certain ethos that can really help people around the world.
Yeah.
And you describe yourself as a eco-warrior. And that is someone that worries about the climate, but is not a warrior in the fighting sense.
Yeah.
It's more of a warrior with the IER.
Totally. It's the hardest thing to explain on a podcast.
Exactly.
We need cue cards.
But can you talk about why we need more people like this in the world?
So it's something that I've been thinking of, and at the beginning of our conversation, you asked, what sparked your interest in sustainability, and for me, there was no huge spark. And I think that kind of comes back to this eco-warrior, or what I want to define myself as in this industry is I'm not an eco-warrior. I'm not hardcore. I don't live completely zero waste. If I lived in New Zealand, I think I would probably be more sustainable than I day to day than I am in Hong Kong.
It's easier there, isn't it?
It's easier, and that's just a fact. It's if it's hard, then you're less likely to do it. And in Hong Kong, it can be really hard. So I worry for the environment, and I'm sure a lot of people worry for the environment more than we think. So quite often I'll speak to people about Slowood, and they go, is Slowood very successful? Because people don't really care about sustainability in Hong Kong. And it's just not true. People do care. It's just that it's not available. So if it's not available, then you can't buy it.
They don't care.
So the stats are just skewed. No one buys those products in Hong Kong. You can't buy them. So it's not because they don't want to, it's because they can't. When we make them available, people do buy them. So for me, I worry, but I'm not hardcore. And it's what we try and it's the image we want to portray at Slowood as well, is that you don't have to be perfect. We don't need millions of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Little changes, little steps.
Yeah.
We're going to make a lot more of a difference if lots of us are doing little things rather than just one person is doing everything.
Yeah.
And it's just not realistic to expect everyone to live a completely zero waste lifestyle. Yeah. What is realistic is that everyone can start to make small changes, and there are so many small changes that you can make that can help you to live a more zero waste or more sustainable life.
That's great. It leads us to our next question.
Yeah.
So have you developed any personal habits from your time working at Slowood that help you live a more sustainable life? And are there any practices that you can recommend?
Yeah, there are. I think there are so many practices that I can recommend. And part of this is why people will not do anything, because there are so many things that we can do, and people get sustainability fatigue. You can bring your own lunchbox, bring your own coffee cup, say no to plastic bags. You could have cold showers, use a bamboo toothbrush, buy eco-friendly laundry liquid, don't shop fast fashion. Say no to straws. I don't know. It can be overwhelming, and people think, mafan. No, I just won't do anything. Little old me, I'm a small potato. I'm not going to make any difference. What's the point? So just start small. The small steps can make a big impact if we take them together.
Yep.
Just start. Find something small, and maybe that's having a cold shower. That's an easy one. You don't have to spend any more money. In fact, it will save you money.
It will actually, yeah. It's supposed to be really healthy for you as well.
And it's really good for your mind, yeah. So there's a bonus in there. But have cold showers. you're using less power, great for your mind as well, and easier in summer. Start now rather than winter. Perhaps it's a great time to start having cold showers. So have cold showers. Start using a bamboo toothbrush. Of course, we have these at Slowood, but I'm seeing them in the conventional supermarkets as well. So in your Welcomes or Mannings, you can find bamboo toothbrushes as well. They're going to biodegrade a whole lot faster than a plastic toothbrush, which would take upwards of 700 years.
Yep.
So those are two very small things. There are other things that I could recommend. Refilling your shampoo and conditioner. Anything that encourages circularity, I think, is really really important and can make a really big impact. So if you're refilling the same plastic bottle of, maybe it's not shampoo or conditioner, maybe it's hand wash or body wash, laundry liquid or cleaning sprays, reusing that same plastic bottle over and over and over and over again is going to significantly reduce your own carbon footprint or your own your own impact. So I mean, I think the plastic bottle one is really important in Hong Kong in particular. I mean, even if you have your own water bottle, bring that, refill that. There's more water stations popping up around Hong Kong too, which is great. It's important because it's one of the biggest stats that baffles me is the fact that Hong Kong discards an estimated 6.9 million plastic bottles every day. Yeah. Which is equivalent to 90 shipping containers.
Yeah, it's insane. It's almost one per person every day, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's almost one per person every day. And that's just insane. Yeah. So if we can adopt a circular economy, which is where you are reusing the same thing over and over again rather than discarding it, we can help to reduce that. Circularity is also creating a huge impact at the front end as well, though. So 45% of carbon emissions come from the manufacturing or the extraction and the manufacturing of these goods. Yeah. So by reusing the same bottle over and over again, we're having, we're contributing at that end, and then also what you see, which is the discarding of it as well.
Yeah. I really like those suggestions. So, I mean, typically we get recycling, which is obviously is a very key part of living a sustainable life, but I mean fundamentally reusing is better than recycling.
Totally. Reusing is better than recycling, but we need both.
Of course.
We're not going to
you're not going to say one or the other.
It's not black and white. It's not black and white. We can't get rid of all plastic bottles tomorrow. Yep. So we need to recycle as well, and it's something that I've only just started doing. So I mean, in New Zealand it's totally easy and normal. Your recycling bin is at your back door. In Hong Kong, not so much. So Hong Kong's opened up, right? And friends and family have been coming through, and they'll be over and say to me, where do I put this bottle? Where do I put this can? Where's your recycling? And I'm just like, I just cringe. It was like the first time it happened, I was, there isn't one. We don't recycle in Hong Kong. And they're like, don't you work in sustainability? What are you doing? And I just felt disgusting, felt so guilty. And so I have started recycling. And I have a paper bag now next to my rubbish bin where we put our bottles and our cans. And part of what has made this easier for me is that one of the Recycle 6 centres is opened reasonably nearby. So I can take that bag now down to the recycling centre. But I mean, before that centre, I truly didn't know what to do, and I'm learning as I go.
Well, a lot of people I think were discouraged because there was a lot of conversation going around that a lot of the recycling wasn't being recycled. But now you've got green stores around that are much more convenient. It's a little bit more incentive.
And a lot more trust, I think, for those green stores. You're right, people did see, videos or had heard that recycling doesn't actually get recycled. Yeah. And so that's part of this, people being discouraged, or part of that sustainability fatigue of, what's the point? Yeah. All of my efforts are just wasted.
Exactly.
But it's definitely something that is more possible and a bit easier now.
It's improving, for sure. Yeah. And you have gained a little bit of notoriety lately for your recent, speaking of plastic bottles. Recent post against excessive plastic packaging by 7-Eleven and Disney. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened, what you've learned from it?
Yeah, so to give some backstory to what the post was, I was in my local 7-Eleven, and front and centre, as soon as you walked in, I clocked this plastic bottle that had a Disney character inside, like a plush toy, and it was connected to a plastic bottle of water, and it was wrapped together, a little combo, a little package. And I went and picked it up, and I saw that the side with the plush toy had no water in it. It just had the toy. It was just the housing for this toy. And in fact, the bottom of the bottle popped off so that you could get the toy out. So you couldn't even reuse this plastic bottle. My first thought was, maybe it's not that bad. You can at least reuse the plastic bottle. But you couldn't. You can't even reuse it. You can't fill it with water. It leaks. I was just furious. I was so mad. It really triggered something in me. Yeah. It really got under my skin, and I actually had to cool down for a few days before I knew I wanted to post about this on my LinkedIn, but I really needed to cool down for a few days so it wasn't just a rage post. And I wanted to do it in a way that was from an angle of curiosity, I guess. Why is this here? Why has this happened? Why do these big companies sign pledges saying that they're going to reduce plastic, and then we see things like this? So I wanted to understand why, and I wanted to ask people, do you know why? Or do you have any advice? Or, I just wanted to learn about how did this bottle get here? So I made a post, and it just snowballed. I think it might be at around 300,000 views.
Brilliant.
Now. And it just created a lot of conversation. So there were a lot of people piping in and having conversations on this post. It was actually really good. There wasn't too much, there weren't too many keyboard warriors or posting here.
Did it inspire the SCMP article? Do you know?
I don't know. I saw that SCMP. I think it did. I actually messaged the journalist.
Yeah.
And he didn't reply, but it kind of seemed like a bit of a coincidence that article came out a few days after my post. And it did reference a few things, like the pledge that I had mentioned in the post. So perhaps, I'm not sure, but I think that it probably helped it blow up a little bit more, and it definitely caught the eye of the C-suite or the management at Dairy Farm Group, who owns 7-Eleven. So I know that there were some conversations that were had about it, and hopefully it brought to light some of the challenges that they're facing and the barriers that they have about, they are doing some really great things. They are doing amazing things, but they're huge, and I guess it's a shame when someone like me makes a post and highlights something that's really, really bad, and no one can see all of the good things that they're doing.
True.
Or people aren't aware of the good things that they're doing as well. But it does just highlight that there's a long way to go, and these big companies are big. Dairy Farm have 250,000 staff in Asia.
That's absolutely massive.
So, and sustainability is typically a new arm or a new part of the business, so it takes a long time. I've spoken to someone at Dairy Farm Group who said, we're doing 100 amazing things right now, but we've got 1 million to go.
Yeah.
And they're just massive, the amount of business units that they have is.
It's hard for that to filter down to every level of the company.
It's hard to build those, you have the sustainability at the heart of your company, and that's great, and you can start there, but getting the veins to run through the rest of the company, I can only imagine what that challenge is like, to get sustainability something that everyone's thinking about when they're developing new products, something that they care about. All of those layers, all the way down from top management down to someone who's in purchasing or product design or whatever it is. I think it's really hard to get that ethos ingrained.
Yeah. I think it's getting better, like we've been saying over time. I think people are caring a little bit more.
It's getting better. It's getting better. You just always wish it was going a little bit faster.
Really do. You really do. But Slowood is trying to move a little bit faster. Speaking of which, and they are planning to expand their ideas or their products to other stores in Hong Kong, as we talked about a little bit earlier. What does this process look like? Is there room for further expansion coming up?
Yeah, so we have Slowood, and then we have Green Route. And Green Route is the distribution arm of our business. So we distribute around 80% of the products that you see in Slowood. As I've mentioned, we sell them to a very wide range of different customers. So one part is selling those products in and working with the Slowood brand to get products in under the Slowood brand or do collaborations. Yep. And then the third part of the business is refill. So that's our refill vending machine, which is taking refill out of Slowood and into the public and allowing people to super conveniently refill their shampoo, conditioner, body wash, hand soap in more convenient locations and at a lower price.
Like what kind of locations are you thinking about? Are you allowed to say what
we're
locations?
Thinking about transport stations.
Oh, brilliant.
You might know some of those.
Yep.
Gyms, co-living spaces, residential buildings, corporate towers, malls. Essentially anywhere that is convenient or anywhere that you go regularly. So the idea is that if you can go from your apartment to your lobby, or if you can go through, to the gym and there's a refill point machine there, you can refill rather than going to the supermarket to buy a new bottle of shampoo. I feel like we talk about shampoo a lot. It's the first one I think of. So if you can do that, you're going to be more likely to refill your bottle, and that is not an assumption. That is something we know from our Slowood stores. Yep. We also know that when user experience is improved, more people are likely to refill as well. So when we first launched Slowood, we made refill available in large containers with a pump on the top. Yep. So you physically have to press it. It can be a bit messy. It was perceived as unhygienic, and it wasn't very approachable.
Sure.
So people who hadn't done it before just felt a bit shy to refill. Yep. Later we moved to the development of our refill wall, which is a wall with lots of taps on it. Yep. So you just twist the tap and the liquid comes out, and it's actually really satisfying. It comes out really fast. And you have a lot more control. You can just stop it. And it's perceived to be a lot more hygienic. And so when we moved from that pump container to our refill wall, our sales tripled. So we learned that when we improve the user experience, more people refill. So the refill vending machine project is taking that wall, taking our learnings out of Slowood and into the public to make refill easier and more accessible and cheaper. So you can refill in your lobby, which is going to be easier than going to the supermarket.
Sure.
Ideally, we'll see these refill machines in supermarkets as well.
Yep.
And really encourage people to refill rather than buying a new bottle each time they shop.
And is there what's the kind of range of refills? Yeah. So obviously there's shampoo. Is there are there other products that you're going to be able to refill, or are those plans for the future?
We have shampoo, conditioner, body wash and hand wash, which we'll be launching with, and that's our own range. So it's been made here in Hong Kong. So it's supporting local, but also means it's a lower carbon footprint. Yep. It is. So we'll be launching with that personal care range first in the machine. Later we'll go into household cleaning liquids. So multi-purpose cleaner, window cleaner, these sorts of things. But we'll be launching with personal care first, specifically with our own range, and then we'll be moving to other brands in the future as well.
Brilliant. Yeah. I think that's one area where it's kind of hard to replace the plastic bottle, so to speak, because they're kind of ubiquitous with cleaning products. Yeah,
definitely. There are a lot of other really cool innovations coming out. Have you seen the tablets?
No, I haven't.
There's some there are a few brands that I've seen in Hong Kong and in other parts of the world where it's a tablet, like a Barocca tablet.
Oh, yeah.
And you put it in your bottle and then fill it with water. So
and
you
it
just
becomes
the solution.
The cleaning solution.
Yeah,
Oh, amazing.
so it's much cheaper because you're shipping something much smaller.
Yep.
You're not shipping a whole lot of water, which, I mean, they're 99% water, a lot of these products. And like on the shelf in supermarkets, they're taking up much less space as well.
Yeah.
So it's in the
that's a
supermarket's
brilliant
favour
idea.
to put them on the shelf as well. So I think that's another really cool circular or zero waste cleaning product idea that we've seen as well.
Are you going to try and get into that market?
Yes. we
in summary.
Yeah, we have. I think we're looking to launch some brands like that in our stores.
Sure.
At the moment, it's very new. I've only seen them pop up in the last year or two.
Yeah.
Like brands that have been built for more mass market, I guess.
Yep. And are there any other exciting projects or initiative, as our final question, any other exciting projects or initiatives we can expect from Slowood in the coming months, years ahead?
So the refill point vending machine will be launching at the end of this year.
Fantastic.
Our goal is to launch 200 over the next few years.
Yep.
We have around 16 partners locked in. So when the machine is ready, we'll be able to start rolling those out.
Fantastic.
So that's really exciting, and it's it'll be a slow rollout. So we'll be launching with private locations first, co-living spaces or clubs, for example, that have a private community, and then we'll roll those out into more public locations once all the operations and everything is smooth.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of our enlightening conversation today with you, Bex. To our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast from wherever you're listening for more discussions on carbon and sustainability in Hong Kong and Asia Pacific. Bex, how can people reach out to you if they want to hear more?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Rebekah Bradley.
Sure.
My name is spelled Rebekah.
Good to know.
And I guess they can reach out to you. You can connect them with me.
Sounds fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Bex, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
No
Thomas.
worries. Until next time.